pull the connector for the undertail LEDs through the slot between the fender and the undertail. You'll see here the connector shows. In order to orientate the main harness over the bike, place the lead with the 3 connectors on the left side. Here you can see that I'm going to connect the rear undertail connector first. What is actually easier to do is to run that under the center cross member, the aluminum gray one that you can see there, first, instead of having to chase the entire harness under that member later, as I am doing here. The location of the fuse is not critical at this point in time, or the switch for the on and off. Here I am connecting the main harness to the LED set attached to the rear of the left fairing. Next, I'll move on to the LED segment that is underneath the center stringer of the frame. Now we want to move forward and continue routing our main harness alongside of the frame until you get to the left fairing, where you're going to try to duck down and pull it through all the way. Next, we'll route just along the top side of that left fairing so that we can pull the wiring harness farther forward on the bike. Continue to route the main harness above and behind the upper left fairing cover, and then proceed to pull down either of the 2 leads, either the bundle of 3 or the extra lead for the lower portion of the left fairing. Either pull it down, and then you're going to pull down the rest of that lead with it. Because what you need to do is you need to get over the radiator and the other electrical connections in that area. So as you can see here, I've pulled it forward. Now I'm going to pull it back over the top. I'm pulling that 3 bundle back over the top of the radiator and the electrical connections, and heading up towards in front of the forks, where I can do my front fairing, my fork LEDs, and my nose. Now the second fork LED connector that is singled out and goes down to the bottom is going to the connection for the daisy chained LED set at the lower portion of the left fairing. You'll just make that connection and then tuck your wires behind the wires that are already existing. Here we have the front area. I'm just showing the simple routing because there is a lot of electrical. You can just pull behind it, and then you need 1 lead that's going to go up to your nose connector, and you can see there that I've connected it at that point. Your other connector is going to go to the under fairing connector, and your last connector of that set is going to go to your front forks. Once completed, we're going to move on to the right side of the motorcycle. Go ahead and lift the tank and pull the rest of the harness over to this right side. You'll notice that you have 1 lead by itself, and then you have a bundle, a couple of leads that split off from there. The 1 lead by itself goes to the rear swing arm. So just go ahead and drop it behind the frame, and then you'll reach behind underneath the swing arm and grab that connector and then connect it to the swing arm LED set. Continuing with the main harness install, you're going to be connecting here, as I showed, the next connector, which is going up to the upper portion of the right side fairing. Just drop it behind the main frame, make your connection, and that side's already good. After that, you're going to pull down the last connector, which is going to go to the lower portion of the right fairing, and you're just going to drop that again behind the frame, pull it all the way through, and then we're going to route alongside the inside of the right fairing. Here I show you stretching it out, making sure my wires are not tangled. I'm going to go along the top here, go behind the upper fairing, grab it just behind the radiator. Then we're going to go over the radiator and alongside the front of the right fairing. And now here you can see I've made it over the radiator into the front. My other connector for my LED set is already there. I make my connection and then tuck back my wires. With all of our LED connections made, we're going to go ahead and loosen up both battery terminals and install our LED kit wiring harness ring terminals underneath both battery terminals. First, starting with pulling off the negative battery terminal and then the positive, installing the positive LED harness lead to the positive battery terminal first, and tightening that up, and then tightening up the negative lead with the negative LED wiring harness ring terminal. The only thing left to do at this point is to install the actual switch. We connect the connector and verify that we have power to the LEDs. Now we're going to just reassemble the bike. So we're going to put on the front glare shield, including all the screws and washers to go with it. Go ahead and remove your fuel tank support. Place the fuel tank into its slot and insert your bolt and nut. Insert the bolt for the head of the fuel tank with its washer, and then for the fuel tank, you will put in the two side bolts. The seat goes in next, along with its two supporting bolts, one on each side. And then lastly, you'll put on both of the cowlings that are just below the seat. Last but not least, the finished product. Get out there and light stuff up.